We're here at American Suspension. I'm Vince. This is Bruce. Bruce is our head of suspension assembly. We're going to show you how to put together a Mach 7R fork leg. Mach 7R looks like a basic conventional fork leg, but it has a few extra features. Internally, it's designed so that it has a cartridge, but the cartridge hangs on the outside of the leg. The reason we do that is because it's very easily accessible. You can adjust the high-speed compression, the low-speed compression, low-speed rebound, and the high-speed rebound all externally and all independently. So we're going to show you how to put one together. So we start out, this is our Black Mamba inner tube. It's DLC coated. It has an internal cartridge unit that we put in here into the tube. You don't need to do this. You can use your stock tubes, but if you use our tubes, we have this as a little extra accessory to go in the inner tube.
So it's already inside the inner tube.
It's got this one all together.
The outer bushing goes on. You take our dampener off. You put the top out spring on.
And we have a special top out spring. We'll talk about springs a little later. It's a little bit softer than the stock spring and has a little more travel. So what that does is, you know, when your bike kicks back, instead of it kicking back hard, it kicks back nice and soft. Gives you a little bit more control in those situations where you're on the edge of control. So he's put the dampener, well, it's really the, it's not just like an ordinary, it has multiple passages, separate passages for the rebound and the compression internally, but it looks a lot like a regular dampener rod. And then it allows the oil to flow down here, and then it comes out these ports below where it's then distributed throughout the cartridge. So he's put that in with the dampener top out spring.
Now we just lube up the bushing so we can connect it to the lower leg.
These really are, you assemble them very similar to a conventional fork leg, and it's quite quick and easy to do. Then, much like a conventional fork, there's a dampener rod bolt that Bruce is going to put into the bottom and tighten it up, and it has a little seal, same way as you would a conventional fork. In designing this, we wanted it to be something that most people are able to put together in their garage and build the bike, yet they're able to get racing-like performance by having this external cartridge. So he's got that in. Just like any other fork, he's put in the top bushing.
We'll put the spacer for the main bushing. And we want to lube it up with some lube.
It's a really good practice to put a lot of lube on that seal when you put it in. And a lot of times people talk about, oh, it took a while for the fork to break in. Well, if you just lube it up, it doesn't take a while to break in. It works good right away. Now, you may see a little bit of that residual grease here. Don't worry about it. Just wipe it off and enjoy the fact that your bike rides great right on day one.
You can use assembly lube or simple Vaseline will work. you put the other spacer over it so you cover the circlip.
Yeah, so we put a washer on there, protects the seal, and then we use our circlip. These forks, you can use the stock circlip, but our circlip's a little more reliable, but the other one would work.
That's that in. That's in. You just put in the wiper seal. That's how you connect the outer tube with the Mach 7.
So your fork is basically assembled here. We're going to put the springs in it. And just real quick, what we're going to do is we're going to put these two springs in, all right, together. And then we have a preload cap. It has an adjuster in here so you can adjust the preload. And then further, depending on the spring stack that you use, you can move this circlip. So you have quite a bit of adjustability with this setup. Now the way springs work is, let's say this is a spring that's rated at 100 pounds per inch. What that means is if I push down on it with 100 pounds, it'll compress 1 inch. Now, if I were to take another spring that's rated 100 pounds per inch, put it on top, if I push on it with 100 pounds of force, this spring will compress 1 inch and this spring will compress 1 inch, which means you'll have 2 inches of compression with 100 pounds force, which means that when you stack the one spring on the other, you now have a 50 pound per inch spring. So when you stack the springs, you get a softer spring. What we do is, this is our stunt riding for a heavier bike spring. We add another spring to it, and this takes us to the rate for a softail. If you are on a lighter bike, like a Nightster or something, you might have 2 or 3 of these other springs. You can build a stack with it of springs, and hey, maybe you've decided you want a stunt ride. You can get rid of some of these and stiffen up the front end. Or maybe you decided you're taking the love of your life on a long ride and she doesn't want to feel any discomfort at all. So you can throw a couple of these more in and get a softer ride. So just one more way that we give you to be able to adjust the ride of the bike. So I'll turn these over to Bruce because...
So this is a bagger setup. We're going to do the 80-pound FK 80 kit. And throw this in here. It's already been preset. It's already been preset for a bagger setup. You want to set it up to where it's fully extended. And you feel the preload as soon as you start getting to the threads.
Yeah, and then he can further adjust the preload right here. So he can increase the preload or reduce the preload by moving that bolt in and out. And as you can see, if you run that bolt in and out, all it does is, if this were the spring and the spring is here, you can see that screw come out, and it just puts more preload. It works just like the weight jacker on a stock car.
And you want to fill the Mach 7 to 450 cc's to 500 cc's
of oil.
of oil.
So we'll pull this off. And then this particular setup is going on a softail. So we're going to add one of these springs to the stack, and we'll reset the preload here. Do you want to put the circlip in? Or we got to move the circlip to put this spring. Okay, all right, perfect. You don't need this vise, but it's handy to have when you go to fill it.
Yeah.
But in your home, you can just have your assistant hold it. Now, on the oil height, what you're really looking at is if you look down there and you see the top of the dampener rod, you want it when the fork is fully extended for the oil to be about an inch off the top of the dampener rod. That means you have plenty of oil and it won't cavitate. Now, you can raise the level of oil in your fork. What that does is it reduces the air volume inside your fork, and it makes the fork stiffer because there's an air spring in here, and that's added into the other spring. So raising the oil level tends to increase the stiffness because it's increasing the internal air spring. Which?
No.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We'll just turn off the cap. It's done.
There's your completed leg all ready to go on the bike.